Megan. Well, question number one. What's your story? In other words, how did you fall down the rabbit hole of needing to transform yourself physically and emotionally so you can either once again or for the first time in your life reach your true physical, emotional, and even spiritual potential?
That's a mouthful, right? So I was never really, I wasn't an overweight person. I guess, I struggled with weight when I was middle school or so, but it was only because I'd come home from school and drink a bunch of Cokes and Doritos and really just didn't even know any better. And then I remember one summer my mom had kind of started with the health kick thing, and she's just stopped buying that stuff, and she was making me drink seltzer and stopped buying Doritos and stuff. So I really lost that kind of kid weight at that point because she just stopped buying that kind of thing. So I didn't really I was never really an overweight child, and I didn't grow up that way. And actually too, now that I think about it, when I was in high school and stuff, I wasn't the type of person, I don't know how much I weighed in high school. It wasn't really an issue with my peer group or anything like that. So I don't really ever remember weighing myself until probably getting ready to have Aiden, just before or after that. I do remember weighing myself around, and I came in at 140 or so. So that was probably after college, after, I got married and all that kind of stuff, and kind of always hovered around that point. It never really dawned on me to get better or lose more weight. It was just that was just the way it was. So it wasn't weight loss in that capacity wasn't really an issue for me. And then until I had kids. But I did started working out, college, gaining the freshman 15, and we kind of all realized that collectively, and all my roommates. So we're okay, well, we'll still eat junk and go drinking, but let's join the gym. And so that counteracted it all, and that works for a little bit. Right. And then I came home and finished school at home, and real life started to happen. And I always worked out from home. I would say that when I came home from college, I was probably when I started to discover working out from home. So, and believe it or not, I always worked out to Beachbody programs. There was VHS tapes that they had that was great buns, great thighs. And this was definitely when we were married, because I remember being in our Shrewsbury house and doing the VHS tapes in our bedroom. And their slogan was "Look good naked" at the time. So I do remember that was pretty funny. So anyways, I've always kind of just done my thing from home. And, I struggled in the past with smoking and lots of soda. And I did do lots of pills, fat burner pills and ephedra. I'm just trying to think of really didn't kind of catapult into a situation of needing to lose weight until I had children. So I have 3 kids, and the first was Aiden, and pretty much just thought I would break him if I did anything. So I laid around and ate a lot because I just figured, I'm going to get fat anyway. So this is going to be fun. And so I just got really, really big with him, and I was afraid to work out. So I kind of stopped everything I was doing because I just thought he would fall out or I'd hurt him or whatever. So I didn't do anything. And gained I think I was well over 200 pounds after him. Each kid was about the same. I weighed a lot after each one. And so after that, I went right back to the fat burners and stuff, because that was kind of what I knew. And Jenny Craig was another way that I could control what I was eating. That was portion control. I knew that was kind of the key. And so got down to where I was my 140s. That was where I was always at. And then we had gotten pregnant with number 2, same MO pretty much. I just stuck to what worked, the fat burners, poor nutrition. After her, rather, same thing. I ballooned up. I was over 200 and something pounds with her. And then it actually didn't work as well after her. I actually had to really kind of buckle down and focus on nutrition more and that kind of thing. And then ended up doing really well with that. I do remember finally getting to where I was like, wow, I'm less than my 140-ish range that I always thought I'd be. And then we were pregnant with Ben. So I was like, okay, well, whatever again. And I tried mentally, I was like, I'm going to work out with this kid because I know I'm not going to break him and I know it's going to be okay. And I still just ate whatever I wanted because it was just a mental thing with me. It was just like, do whatever. And so that was kind of where I was at. And so after Ben, physically, I was like, this is going to be my permanent life now. And I wanted to just challenge myself and seek the best of everything. And at this point, then I knew that the nutrition and the exercise and all that stuff was one piece. And there wasn't quick fixes. And, you could do the portion control with Jenny Craig, but then you have to marry the exercise piece into that and all that kind of stuff. So I would say like being a mom and having children was kind of how it more pushed me into my physical changes. I guess that's kind of the answer there that's looking for, right? I don't want to like go off because I know that the questions are going to ask me other stuff.
No, yeah, that's a good answer. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's your story. So let's move to question number 2. What's the theme of your story? Have you been repressing your passion? Have you experienced lots of ill health and disease? Have you struggled physically, emotionally, and financially? Have your relationships failed to feel like you really want and you're ready to start telling a new story about what you really want and deserve?
Okay, so I mean, I think that like for me, I always did what was expected. So and I feel like my story is less of physical transformation. I mean, it is, but it's more of a personal journey and my like career type path. I went to college because it was expected. I was a terrible student. I hated high school. When I was old enough to sign myself out, I did. So I barely graduated because I was never there. I just was not interested, and I did poorly on tests. I like would freak out on tests, and I just hated it. And college felt the same. It was just a big party when I went there. I had poor grades, average grades, whatever. So I didn't really have a lot of options for college, and so it was like a college that was in the same state as ours, but party school. And I knew kids that were going there, so that was kind of like why I picked it too, because I was like, oh, I'll know somebody. And but honestly, I didn't really have interest. I really just went because that was the expectation, and so I was there for a year and a half maybe, and I ended up coming home because I was like, you know what, I was sick all the time. Like, I don't know, it was like a petri dish. It was dirty there. We were drinking all the time. It was not like home. And so I was like, I'm gonna come home and go to the local school because I can take the same classes. I was like, business management is what I thought. I just didn't know what I wanted. So did that because it was expected. So when I came home, I ended up going to school part-time at night, and I worked full-time, and I worked for my dad. And so he had his own commercial audio video business. Since I was a little girl, he had come up here from New Jersey when I was like 3 years old to start his own company. So at this point, I was in my 20s, right? So had the business for a very long time. He was very successful. And so I worked for him, and I really liked it. And it was actually interesting because, I started off like filing and that kind of stuff, and then kind of worked my way. And the other really cool thing about the business was that all the people that he employed were all people I knew since I was a little kid. So they were all like a family, right? And so I loved that too. And that the respect that I saw that my dad got, like everyone loved him. And then like it poured out to the customers too. So like, as soon as you said you were Jerry Anderson's daughter, they were like, no, like all over you. Oh, he's awesome. Like the customers were like that. The employees were like that. It was just like this thing about him that he was that type of a businessman, and everybody was important. And so it was awesome to be in that vibe. And then so after like filing and answering the phones, I moved up to really wanted to do the customer service position that they were kind of creating. And it just meant that you'd have to go, you weren't quite on the road in sales, but you'd have to go just knock on the existing customers' doors and say, how's it going? And then you could, like, if they needed something, you could sell them something. But it was like a warm call because they already liked you and you already had their business. You just were making sure they were happy, right? And so ended up doing that for like a year, and I just loved that. I loved being in front of the customers. I loved hearing accolades about the company and my father, and I was greeted warmly, and then that was awesome too. And then it was easy to sell stuff because you were already like talking to them about their existing situation and what they needed to make it better or different or adding whatever. So I really loved that. And, all along I'm going to school, I still hated school, but I knew that I needed to finish it because, like, you have to finish it, right? I would like to say that I could apply what I was learning to what I was doing during the daytime, but that wasn't the case. I was learning stuff like economics, and it was like in one ear out the next. And I was terrible. I hated school. I was just not interested. So I excelled in the daytime job because I loved that. I loved the people, and I loved building relationships with people and that kind of stuff. And then after I did that for a year, they put me into sales, and they were like, you just can cold call now and do that from scratch. So that was like, there was no social media. That was like, there was no Facebook, none of that. I was driving door to door. I was calling people on the phone. I mean, it was old school. I loved it and did that for a number of years. And then there was a point where my dad was getting ready to retire and selling it to this like corporate people that have this, say a big company. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Muzak, but that was like a company like that came out of California, and they bought all the little people like my dad all over the country and like swooped in and made this big conglomerate. And he got a nice paycheck and a buyout and shares and all that, and he retired. So, but I stayed with the big company. But what ended up happening was they came in and fired all the people that worked for my dad for so many years because they were numbers people. And so it was really sad. And they had brought in all these new people. And so at that same time frame, I got married to Mark, and my dad's like, why don't you do like your own thing, right? Why don't you start your own thing? We'll get Mark all trained on service and installation, and he can do ride-alongs with the guys, because my dad was still consulting with this company. So we were like getting Mark trained that way. And then I was doing the sales. So we were going to just me and Mark were going to start our company. And at first it's just started with Mark doing like service work. And then I joined him, I think like a year later to do sales and stuff. So our company was born, Bay State Audio. And I left, what was my dad's old company to do this. It was just me and Mark. And this was before kids or anything like that. So, and at the time I was like, no kids, we're not having kids. I'm like completely selfish. And I just wanted to like have my own company and do this and all that kind of stuff. So, I knew I always wanted to have my business. I knew I didn't want to take over my dad's business because that would be like a major investment, and that's not something that I had or could have at the time, right? So that wasn't in the cards. It was, starting our own thing with his advice and input and that kind of thing. So it was good. It started off good, and then I had Aiden, and he had to go into daycare because I'm in sales. I'm doing the sales of the business, and I'm also running the day-to-day. So it was a lot. But I still think that this is what I wanted, right, at this point. And then, but like the struggling with daycare and the working and all that, it was tough. And then we had, rent and utilities and employees, and we went up and we went down and we went up, and it felt like we could never get ahead of it. Like we kind of inherited a lot of business from my dad's company. Like the loyal people were like, oh, Jerry's no longer with these big guys. Well, we're going to use you then. So we got, great, business through that, but it still just wasn't enough for the two of us to kind of like take it to the next level. So we would hire a person that we would think would take us there, and it wouldn't. And we would just try to keep going. And then we'd had Riley, and they're both now in daycare. And it was like life started to change now because my priorities had shifted. I was like working all day long and like eating in my lap in the car and, you know, being the customer service, being the sales, being the payroll, being the rent person, like all of this stuff. And, you know, Marky was doing service and installation. And so it wasn't like we were together all day, but he had kind of like the separate end of the business. So, you know, kind of fast forward to we got into a position where we're like, okay, we're living paycheck to paycheck and we need to take it to the next level or get out because we are stuck in this plateau and we have enough business to like keep us going, but we're not like making enough where we just need to get up there, right? The next rung of the ladder, it was tough. So we met with this guy, knew this guy from years and years and years and years ago. And he had the same business as my dad around the same time. And he was local to the area. And we talked to him, we talked about doing a partnership. And so he came into the business and, in hindsight, we probably should have known better because of this guy's personality and the way that he did business and a lot of different things that we encountered in the beginning with him. But long story short, we butted heads a lot and we didn't want the same things. And he pissed off a lot of our customers. And we had a lot of problems with like pricing and what we would charge people. And we'd get calls from these customers from like 50, they've been customer for like 20 years and you know, you want to charge us what? And we were like, what? And yeah, so it was hard. And so then I would say right around that same time frame, maybe he was with us for like a year and, you know, Ben was a baby and, I've always been a Beachbody customer, right? So I've always still working out at home. This is always my constant. I was always up at the crack of dawn doing my workouts. I always did that. And so when after I had been, that was still the same. And so we're still running this business and we're doing my workouts and what have you. And I ended up being in this was before Facebook, like I mentioned, there still was not really social media. At least I wasn't on it anyways. So when I was working out and doing my program, I would often go in the Beachbody message boards to talk to people or ask questions. And so my now coach, Heather, found me in there and she must have just started talking to me. And before I know it, she's inviting me to a challenge group. You know, I really didn't know what that was, but it sounded cool. And it was on Facebook, which was kind of a new thing for me. And when I got in there, it was like this whole nother world opened up, you know, and in the back of my mind for many years, I had actually would be doing the workouts at home at the crack of dawn thinking, how cool would it be to be this lady? I'd be doing Turbo Fire and they'd be thinking how cool it would be to be this lady's life. Like she is just doing these classes or whatever she's teaching and she's videos. And I had always thought that. And I really loved the workouts and doing that stuff. So, you know, this is happening back here, right? While I'm trying to run our company. And so then anyways, one thing leads to another. And when Heather talked to me about the coaching opportunity and I found out that I could make money doing it, I just was all in like right away. I was like, oh my God, this is what I want, not this. I don't want this anymore. And so I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew that Mark wouldn't like be mad at me or anything for wanting to change my like, you know, direction, but how are we gonna split ways from this guy and me? Like I was a president on paper of our company, so how was this gonna work, right? And so luckily they could kind of see that I was trying to edge back and like not interested in the company much. At that point I was trying to get out of there. So I think I was probably signed up as a coach for 30 days and I was like, I can't do both. I can't work this business part-time. My heart is in this business. This is where I need to be. And so I stepped down as president, although it took a whole year for it to happen on paper. I signed up as coach 30 days in and I was doing this full time and I was determined and I said, I'm going to stay home with the kids because that was killing us. Daycare with 3 kids was just killing us. And so I was like, what are we going to, you know, lose out? Or basically I'm getting paid to put them in daycare anyway. So the stress level is going to go away from all of everything we were going through. And right then my head just like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is what I'm meant to do. And so then from that point on, I was determined to make it work because we were struggling financially at that point anyways. And so I was looking for a way out. Like, I was thinking for a long time that our business was not going to be our way out. We had tried like every which way to Sunday to make changes. My dad had passed away in between all of that. He passed away before the kids were born, just before Aiden was born, he passed away. So I had lost my mentor and my leader to help me with this business. Had he not passed away, life probably would be very different for me. But that was probably a big trajectory that changed, because he was my only person to ask questions about this business. My mom doesn't know anything about the company. My sister, nobody really was that kind of ally in my life. So that was a big change. So, that, I guess that's probably kind of where that, financially, I was determined. I was determined the biggest way financially to make it work, because I had seen then the stories of other coaches being successful and that you could earn a living. And the more and more I read about those stories, that drove me even more. Like, I totally can do this. This is something that I can do, that I know I can do. I'm a hard worker. I know I can do this,
Perfect. Great. So, question number 3. Three. What are your identification factors? In other words, what challenges and breakthroughs do you want to help your leads and new team members focus on and overcome within themselves? And how can you use your problems or identification factors as a way to emotionally connect with a new potential team members?
Well, I feel like, with my story, the different bits and pieces of it, struggling with nutrition, that aspect of thing, that's a small aspect. And my history with using ephedra and a lot of fat burners, I think that, can relate to a lot of people. As far as helping new team members, a big thing that has really helped change me in this business is personal development. I know we hear that a lot from other coaches, but how we feel about ourselves is a big part of this business. Many, many times I come across people that are like, I don't know how you're so inspired, how you're so motivated. And there's so many people out there that just don't think enough of themselves to do anything to either get better with their health and fitness, or to, start their own company or business. I've never really felt like I lacked in the self-esteem category. But I've definitely changed a lot, and especially over this last year, about, thinking about my potential and what I can be and what I can have. And I think that by having those own thoughts in your own mindset, you kind of project that onto your team as well, that you can do and be anything. And why shouldn't you? Like, what's stopping you? Being able to just relate the bits and pieces to my story to other people, I think, something that can help them, helping them with, my determination and my drive to create this business and make it successful. That's a hard question. It's kind of like, it's just a kind of an odd question the way it's worded. So
It is.
number
I
4.
totally agree. No, but I think you did great. I mean, yes, you answer it well. So number 4, why are you passionate about health and fitness? Was it always important to you? And why did you pick Beachbody? If this hasn't already been covered, but it has, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that it was always my constant. And it's funny because I remember sitting in sales meetings from my dad's companies, and the sales manager would say to me, wow, you're disciplined. You're up at 5:30 working out. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what else am I going to do? I'm here all day, you know? And I never thought of myself as disciplined or determined in that way, but that's just always been a constant for me. I feel like it's just like an outlet, like being able to get the workouts in and stuff. And it's really not a non-negotiable. Like my day is pretty much ruined if I can't work out. Like I just feel like it's so part of me. So I would say I didn't when I didn't get that passion until I started to find the workouts from home, probably. I was never a person that liked the gym. I felt really lost at the gym. And then like I would go to classes, but they just weren't offered consistently enough for like the schedule that I was keeping. So like working out from home just really, was so much better for me. And then, cause I could just get up and do it whenever I wanted. And I loved that. And I didn't know anybody else really that did that except for me, but I didn't really like, care either. So I just feel like that's just always been a constant in my life for as long as I've been interested in working out and health and fitness and stuff. So, and Beachbody, it's just so funny because that was the only, like I've done Taebo and stuff, but I wish that I knew that they had a coaching thing like way before I found out about it. Like how crazy is that? I would have jumped on board years ago, probably. I just love the programs, always loved the programs. So like I said, when I found out about that there was an opportunity to make a living at it, I was in. I was so in because I already loved it all. So.
Great. Perfect. So question number 5. What's your why for becoming a Beachbody coach? Everybody who becomes a coach needs to feel a genuine sense of purpose, a why for wanting to help other people. And without this why, it's infinitely more difficult to truly reach the top of the Beachbody mountain. So getting in touch with and fully connect with your why will become your daily fuel for continuously putting out new content. For instance, your why might be to retire your spouse or give your children the kind of lifestyle you never had.
All right. So, I mean, it's kind of a little bit been sort of established, I suppose. When I first started to become a coach, I really just wanted to earn income or earn a paycheck to, be able to bring income in because we were struggling paycheck to paycheck. So Mark was still getting paid working for our company and doing his side of things. I wanted to, bring in my own income from doing this and something that I really loved and was so super passionate about. And that was really where my headlights were in the beginning. I was just so focused on just making money, making a paycheck of some kind. But as I got kind of embedded with the company and personal development, and finding out just more and more about the opportunity and the gold mine that we have that we're sitting on, it has morphed into just more than that. So I'm making a paycheck. I replaced my income from our company, and making regular income, which is great. And that's always what has driven me too, because I feel like, if I can replace Mark's income and pull him out, that would be my next goal for us. But probably the big one has always been freedom of time, because I always felt like it was like a super rat race. And like I dropped the kids off at daycare and then I was on the road all day and then I'd come home and pick them up and then up early to do workouts and all these things were happening. And it was like, what kind of a life, why do you have kids if you don't have a life where you can enjoy that? Like, what's the point? And so, now having the freedom of time and less stuff is what's important to me. And I was kind of touched upon this earlier that we recently sold our home. We were able to like unload all of this debt because our home was like this big expense and we weren't really able to do anything at all because the expenses of our home were like just drowning us, right? So we had debt, credit cards and things like that in addition to that. So once we sold our home, we're able to, pay off all of our debt and make this change and come here. It's been here now since June. Like such a huge relief has lifted off of me. And it's not that my Beachbody income helped us to, get out of debt, but the Beachbody experience has helped me to change my focus on life. My focus is not about stuff. It's not about having a nice car, Ugg boots, like Coach purses. This was like my life before. When I worked for my dad, I was like all over all these things. I had to have I got a new car all the time. And this was before kids too, because now you know how expensive they are, right? But had all this stuff. I mean, I ended up selling like all my purses on eBay. I had ended up making, that was Christmas money one year, but regardless of all that, the stuff is not important to me anymore. It's about making memories with the kids, being there. Like, I can't even tell you how awesome these first few weeks have been. We signed up for our first family sport as a fan. Like, we didn't have the money for after school activities before this. And so I signed Riley up for soccer, Ben up for soccer. Eden will do baseball in the spring. But we were actually able to, like, they come home from school, and we get ready, we go and sit at the soccer games. And like, I've never done that. And it was just like the coolest thing to just sit there and enjoy them and watch them have so much fun and think, oh my gosh, like, this is our life. Like, what took me so long to get here. That's the only regret that I have, is what happened that took me so long to get to this point. But so my why, now that I have the freedom to do whatever I want. They're in school all day, so my business hours are whenever during the day, pretty much at this point. My next goal right now is to bring Mark home. So I'm hoping that within the next less than 2 years, I'd like to bring him home, if that is possible. That's what my next goal is. So, and it's crazy to think, because right now my paycheck is the same as his, except he works like 50, 60 hours a week and has this commute into Boston and all this crazy stuff. And sometimes I just can't even believe it, that like how we've set it up so that we can have, I feel like I'm alone almost in this life though at this point, because he's working and he's not around as much but I'm doing all this now. So anyways, that's my why right now, is bringing him home so that he can enjoy all these things too, before we get too terribly old and the kids grow up and they don't want us around anymore.
So funny. All right. Question number 6. Describe the opportunities that being a Beachbody coach have produced in your life that you will have never had the chance to otherwise experience. This is about revealing how your life has changed since joining Beachbody. And if you're new, but you're not new, so.
Yeah. No, and I kind of just said that. I don't feel like, we're at the point where we're making hand over fist with Beachbody in a monetary sense, but the experience, the personal development, and just the learning through my team. And, I'm teaching classes, which I never thought I would do, and insanity at that. People were like, "You're teaching insanity? You're crazy." Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's awesome. Like, you just don't think of it, in that way. So those aspects of my life, I can do whatever I want. And it's the freedom of being able to do whatever, and still, make a living and that kind of stuff. So it's like all of those things I talked about, the taking the next steps with the house and selling. We probably would still be there if I don't think we saw that there to be an end in sight. So this opportunity was just a new light bulb to go on and change our path for us. So, yeah.
Okay, number 7. Describe your ideal team member and what does their Beachbody journey look like to you? In other words, where do you fit into helping them accomplish their goals? And speaking of which.
Okay, so I mean, obviously I would love, ideal team members are like me, that have similar backgrounds, things that I can relate to. So it's easier for me to help them. Somebody that's ready to take control of their life, someone that's, determined to never give up, even when it gets hard. I mean, you certainly have those days when you want to give up. But I don't, like, the thought never crosses my mind not to do this. It just doesn't. There's a lot of days where I'm like, oh, I'm going to rearrange my schedule so I can take a nap or do something else or watch TV later or something. But I don't ever want to give up. I'm 100% positive that this opportunity is going to lead me down the life that I want and that I worked so hard for. And someone that's not afraid to work, um, putting in the time, but more than that, they're determined to make a better life for themselves. Someone that thinks enough of themselves to like take the next step, um, and just better themselves. But that determination and that drive, I feel like that never get no someone that doesn't have any excuses, they're not making excuses. I'm never one of those people that says, oh, I couldn't get to it today because of some other factor. Like if I don't make Success Club this month, it's my fault, and it's because I didn't do enough of this and this and this. If I didn't get my personal development in today, well, that was my fault because I could have rearranged my schedule in order to make that work. I always felt like even when, like during the summer when I was short on time, I rearranged my time to get the goals done that I needed to get done in the time that I had that was mine. So, thinking outside the box in that regard, you know, um, I guess that's kind of it. um,
Yeah, no, good description. Absolutely. So, okay. Number 8. How do you feel equipped to help new team members reach their goals?
well, there's a lot of tools and things that we have in place. My I'm always willing to be there and help you guys and help new people. That's for sure. Um, there's a lot of trainings that we have, right? So those things are great, but having those one-on-ones with each other is probably the biggest things that are going to help someone to feel more prepared, at finding out the person's goals, talking about them, where they see their business going, with Beachbody, what they want for themselves and their family and that sort of thing. But for me, I am willing to put in 100%, 110% effort to any new coaches that come on, existing coaches too, but they need to give at least 50% back in return. I can't be, chasing people. As much as I want each and every member of our team to work really hard and want this for themselves, they still have to do it for themselves. It's just really the only things that I can do to help my team members is to lead the way, by example, with the tools and the training, helping them in any capacity that they are stuck with or feel that they need help with, from the beginning experience all the way to the end, working together. I love doing that. Whether it's running challenge groups together or talking to a customer together on a 3-way call or a 3-way message, anything like that. So I feel as though we have all those tools in place, and helping new team members reach their goals, saying to them, okay, this is what you're going to be doing this first week to reach this goal. The next week you follow up with them. Are you at this point? You're ready to go to the next point, and then I always tell them too, we need to go as fast or slow as you tell me. So again, I'm not going to push you into Success Club or push you into being Emerald. That's something that you have to want. That's something that you have to, want to do, but together we can get there and we can reach our goals together in that capacity. And, they always say there's no I in team. It's only going to work if we're all doing it together. And that's so true in every aspect, and there's times where there's an abundance of coaches that are on the team, and then some, fall by the wayside, or they're discount coaches, and they, don't work the business and things like that. But what have seen over the years is that really we are most successful when we're doing any tasks together, as a team. And I think that most of you guys can attest to that too. So.
All right. Number 9. What is the defining factor for why people should work with you over other Beachbody coaches?
Well, kind of touched upon that a little bit too. I mean, I guess I just feel like, I'm going to be putting in, 100% effort into somebody that wants to get started with our team. A lot of coaches will sign somebody up and be like, good luck. And, I'm going to basically be there with you every step of the way, depending on what your goal is from day one, and how you want to reach the goals and how quickly you want to move, you know, through those goals. And again, we do that together. And I feel like, by, being able to, um, combine efforts and help each other. And I can, share all of the experiences that I've had over the 3.5 years, my ups and downs, whether it's scripts or, teaching classes or all of those different things and amenities. That's something that I can, bring to the table for a new coach over, somebody else that's out there.
Okay.
Good night.
Number 10. What obstacles did you have to overcome?
I mean, we sort of touched on that before. You know, really just, I guess, mostly financial. I don't feel like, my weight loss was a huge, obstacle. I think has been mostly with my business, and, my business before being a coach was probably the biggest obstacle of life. It was something that I thought I really wanted in the beginning, and then just changed so much after having a family and all of that kind of stuff. So trying to, really figure out what I wanted took me a long time. Like I said, I went to college because it was expected of me, but that wasn't what I wanted either. So it took me a long time to get to this point. Um, it's funny because I just feel like I'm just meant where I'm meant to be, and I think I said that to you earlier, that I just feel so much more like the stress level is just going away almost completely now, and just feeling so much more comfortable in life in general, and happy.
Perfect. So next question, number 11. What were the most difficult things you faced?
Probably, the passing of my dad was probably pretty hard. It's pretty upsetting that he never got to meet any of my children. He was diagnosed with lung cancer, in April of 2005, and then he passed away that summer. So it was really fast. And so I was pregnant with Aiden, and Aiden was born in October of he was born in the fall. So, my dad passed away before Aiden was, when I was still pregnant and stuff. So I think that was probably, he was like, obviously, other than just being the patriarch of the family, I mean, I always felt like the black sheep, but he was always the one that was like, it's okay, it's good. He was like an ally. And so I felt really lonely, isolated from our family, I would say. My mom and I get along pretty good now, and my sister, but I felt like they were close, and me and my dad were the close ones. They didn't understand our relationship either, and I'm sure they felt that same way, but So that was probably a pretty tough part, the biggest tough, and the business part too, because then I felt like I didn't know what to do after that. What I would call him and talk to him daily about almost everything, and he was helping us with all of the stuff that I had no clue about on running a business. So that was probably the most difficult thing.
Yes, sorry. When, number 12, when was the first moment when someone gave you a compliment or acknowledged your transformation?
Yikes! I don't know when the first time was. I mean, I can think of, it's times when people like look back on your pictures. I probably that one of the first times, and I put like a before and after next to each other, because you really just don't realize that people that are in your life don't really see that. Um, I don't know. I mean, I've had a couple different, physical transformations too, like when I competed and stuff. Um, and those are very obvious, and I got a lot of accolades for, those times, but I also felt like that's like not, I mean, it's a compliment, but when you're on stage, like in that body, it's just not realistic. Like everyday life, it's a lot of work to get there. And pretty much within days, those abs and that look goes away. So after you start eating real food again. So it's really just like kind of like a fake, I don't know how you explain it. I don't know when my first moment was. That's kind of, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, okay. Number 13, what pisses you off? I want to hear that.
Right? People who are what do they would call it? And they throw rocks in glass houses, critical, people that are critical of you. I think like lately I'll see a lot of people that like lazy, people that are lazy, people that can do better, and they just don't see that about themselves. Like, I want to yell through the computer, like, what's wrong with you? You see these posts, or you see people through social media, or you see someone that just says, I can't do this, or so I would say like laziness makes me mad. Criticism, that kind of stuff, those kinds of things. I mean, yeah, I would say those are big. Laziness is a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Number 14, what keeps you up at night?
Well, it used to be our bills. It used to be really horrible. And I think that's probably why I'm doing so well, is because I don't have to worry about our credit card debt anymore. And that was really horrible because the phone calls we were like not answering the phone at home anymore. It was really getting really bad towards the end. And so it was hard but yeah, I would say the cards, the bills and the debt and all of that, you go to bed just with your stomach in knots. It was off. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? That's all I kept thinking about. I wonder, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to make this better? How many more hours can I work this business to get us out of debt? Like, that kind of stuff was heavy on my mind. But since we've been here, sleeping good. Can't wait to go to bed tonight.
That's good. Number 15, and one more to go.
Yeah.
What accomplishments have given you a side of major relief?
I guess, I guess this time of my life, as far as, I mean, I don't think I can think of like things I've gotten like awards for or trophies for or whatever. But I feel like one of my biggest accomplishments, that is giving me a sign of relief is just this point. When we sold our house and took this, left our families from the home to come here, and it was a scary notion and all of that kind of stuff. We knew we'd be starting over. but it feels so good. The kids are loving school, and every day they come home with something else exciting that they love about it. And I like today, especially, I just feel like good about our decision. And so I would say that the move, the big change in the move has been our accomplishment to and sigh of relief.
Perfect. All right, number 16, and the last one. How have you defied your own or other people's expectations?
That's
Yeah, tough
interesting.
one.
Yeah, right. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I try not to really care what other people think. Like, I think in the beginning I cared more about, especially about doing this. Like, I was really concerned about what people thought of me. Like, would they think I just dumped my company to do this, like, you know, weird company thing, weird marketing thing or whatever. I have had people call me like, oh, you're a professional Facebooker. They think it's like a joke, whatever. And so it was tough in the beginning, I feel like. But now I don't really care, because I have been, now I'm loving this. And like every day that passes, I just don't feel like I should have to live up to anybody's expectation of my own. So um this business, it's taught me a lot. um and I say all the time, my only regret is that I didn't get started sooner. I didn't find out about this sooner. But I also will say too, that if I hadn't gone through all the stuff leading up to this point, I probably would not also be sitting in this spot mentally either, because the things that when I worked for my father, developing relationships and all that fun stuff for me, is now what I'm doing now. I kind of took the brick and mortar things out that I hated of running my own company, and doing this on my own merit, on my own time, in my own way. And so I don't have to live up to anybody's expectation but my own. My husband has been completely supportive. He's not expecting anything out of this. I mean, I don't know what he thought when we first started this. He probably just thought, whatever, she's going to have fun and she'll make a couple bucks maybe. But I think he thinks more now. But I think that's it. I don't try to live by somebody else's expectation. I mean, sure, when somebody says something negative, it always, sticks with you or bothers you or whatever. But living for my own self now.
All right.
Sorry, so long-winded.
Oh, it's good in interview. Good. So,
Well, I thank you. Appreciate you doing that with me. And I'm sorry I kept you so long. You need to go make dinner now, right?
yeah, I actually need to go pick up the boys. So, you know what? This says recording. Did we not record all this?
Yeah, it's recording.
Oh, it's still recording. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It just popped. And it says
Yeah,
recording.
it's recording. Yeah. I
All
was
right.
like, don't say that, right? We have to go through the whole
I
thing.
was like panicking. I'm like, because I just see it blinking right now.
Yes, it says hit stop recording when I'm done. So
Okay, well, just check it.
yeah. No, it's
Okay.
good. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then if you want me to do it back to you, just let me know when and where, and I'll do it back to you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Good night. Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Have fun at school.